Welcome to the Health Leader Podcast, the podcast for bodywork practitioners seeking inspiration and knowledge. Hi, I'm Elicia Crook, and together with James Crook and Christine Knox, we'll explore the art, science, and stories behind healing touch. Join us as we uncover the diverse modalities, techniques, and innovations shaping the future of bodywork. Get ready to expand your skills, connect with a vibrant community, and unlock the hidden gems of this transformative practice. This is the Health Leader Co., where we illuminate the power of touch and embark on a journey of discovery and growth. Welcome back to this episode. Today we're going to be sharing with my amazing colleagues and business partners about the journey of how we became the Health Leader Co. Christine, as we shared in our introduction episode, was a client for a number of years, and James and I had been working together also for a number of years, and we want to share with you our story of how we came to be where we are now and the process that we've gone through over the last 2 whole years, people, to make this happen. So we thought it would be interesting to share the actual story of our journey. We will talk a little bit about the process and who we consulted in order to do it and what it's been like in reality, because I've had a really good idea turned into 2 years of a lot of work, really? Like a lot of work. What? Yes. So you're going to hear a little bit about that story. Christine was one of our foundational members of the Six-Figure Therapist program that James came on board with me to begin to run. So I ran one program called Fully Booked Without Burnout, and I've been running that for about 18 months, doing all my own marketing, delivery, all the things, setting up the systems. And James had an epiphany one day where he said, Leash, I'd like to come work with you in your business, and let's create another program and we'll make it a bit longer. And I'm like, yep, sounds good to me, ticking the boxes. And so we started to put some marketing out there, and one of the first people who said, yeah, that sounds good, was the amazing Christine Knox. What was that? Maybe if you want to share a little bit about what it was like to join the company, first of all, James, to share that process just quickly, so that for those who maybe haven't heard the story, what made you want to do that? And then we'll kind of dive into what it was like for Christine to...
Yeah, it has been a long journey, right, when you look back at it like that. But I was running my own business. I was running a marketing agency for like 14 or 15 years and having a lot of fun, a lot of tech. But I had found that the thing I enjoyed the most was actually connecting with the people, with my clients in that business. And the business was set up in a way where I would connect with them a little bit, do a quote, and then spend the next 6 or 8 weeks building some tech thing for them. And that bit, I liked it, but it wasn't like what really drove me. And I had this epiphany. I'm sure I can share the story in more depth at some other point, but I had been overseas visiting one of our sponsor kids and came back and was just like, I want to do something that's more connected, more heartfelt. And Leash had this business that was already working with clients so closely. And I'm like, I can just join that. I've got a whole bunch of marketing and business skills and experience. I can pass those on. This is going to be fantastic. And we did join. I sold that other business. And it worked really well for quite a long time. And it's been a really fun and fantastic journey for myself across all that thing. But it's almost like that story arc is finishing as we're starting this new business, right? It's like that's been one phase. Massage Champions itself has been a really great journey. We're still doing the same stuff, but now we've got this extra next chapter.
Yeah, we landed the story plane.
Yeah,
I love that analogy. We landed that story plane,
and we're on the next flight.
So, Christine, what was it like to join? Like, why did you want to join the coaching program when you were first? Many years ago. It feels like forever ago, but it's not. But
Yeah, I had moved to Australia with my family. I was already a practitioner, and I was starting my business afresh from scratch. I knew nobody. I had no contacts. I had arrived in Australia and thought, right, okay, I need to get my family settled, and then I will embark on getting my business organized. I'd looked into the qualifications, what it took to transfer those or not, or requalify, or whatever it was I was planning on doing. I'd gone along to the TAFE and said, hey, have you got any teaching jobs? because I had been doing a lot of massage teaching already in Scotland. And they were like, yeah, sure, we've got some openings. You need your TAE. I'm like, what's that? And they told me, and then I went off and studied and got that qualification. I did RPL for all my qualifications from the UK and followed the process. I then went, okay, I need to find rooms. What am I going to do? And started reaching out in my community, talking to all the massage therapists around about and making connections that way. I ended up doing locum work for therapists in my town who were taking long extended holidays. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. I can go to this one for like 8 weeks. And then another friend of theirs was like, oh, I'm going for 3 weeks. I'm like, okay, I'll cover your clinic, do this, do that. So that's where I was at. And then I'd reached a stage where that had all come to an end. And one of the clients had said, you need to work for my son, who's a chiropractor, who has rooms available. So I went, oh, okay. Went there, looked at the rooms, nice. Okay, yeah. Started up there with 2 clients and went, okay, this is fine. I don't really know how they do the business side of stuff in Australia, if it's different, if there's compliance. And I've got no massage buddies, In Scotland, I had a really great supportive community that, just felt like family. And so I was looking for that again. So I started seeing ads for a massage coach. And I'm like, maybe I need that. Oh, and the more ads I saw, the more I thought, I probably do need that. Yeah, I think I'll phone them. And ended up filling out some sort of form or something like this. And then the next thing I know, I've got a phone call from Elicia saying, let's hook up an appointment to have a deeper conversation. I'm like, yeah, okay, let's do that then. So I'd set up a time to speak with you. And I'm standing in my clinic waiting for the call.
Notoriously
and nothing, no phone call arrived. I'm like, oh, well, I'm just going to drive home. So I jumped in the car. I'm like almost out of like mobile reach. And the phone rings. And I look at it and I'm like, Elicia Crook. She's late. Okay, this will be fun. That's really naughty, isn't it? Anyway, we had a conversation. And I was like, actually, I really quite like the things she's saying. They're making a lot of sense. I quite like this. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to test her out, sort of thing. What guarantee have you got for me that my business will succeed with your coaching program? And she was like, oh, there's no guarantee. Like, you have to do the work. I was like, brilliant, sign me up. And she was like, what?
And literally they go, what? I was not. I had 17 no's in a row. Is what you didn't know at the time. So I was a bit like, I was a bit of a sales flag. And I'm like, no one's going to like this. Or everyone's going to have to get some words. And you're like, yes. I was like, yeah.
It's just a funny story. Because I love sales and I have, 8 years experience, well, probably half a lifetime actually, experience of selling. My first job was selling shoes when I was 14 years old. I love sales. I just love it. It's so much fun. And so I thought, okay, let's test it out, see what she's going to say.
And I sell from the most honest place you possibly can. It's like, this is how it is. I can't guarantee you anything, but you just have to do the work. Okay. Hey, this is good. Yeah. So you ran a clinic where you had staff, and then you were like, oh, by the way, I've got these other skills. I can teach. I'd like to do these new things, and could teach hot stones, and could teach gentle scars, and decided over a longer period of time to make courses, to create your own programs.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to know each other quite well because there's a lot of steps in creating a program. There's a lot of tech. There's a lot of questions of how do you create something that you've got an idea in your head, put it online, and then have other people access it in a way that makes sense in your head to make it make sense for them. And that's where your TAE, adult education training helps. And James and I have got the same qualification there to be able to help unpack it, but you're not unpacking it from a national qualification and a training package. You're unpacking it from your head and your experience and your knowledge and what you've acquired. So it is quite a process. It's quite a process. Yeah. So there was a number of years where, I knew you were building that, and as we were growing and just having lots of good rapport and one of the things that I've loved and still love about Christine is that she has great questions and she asks great questions, and then she takes on board the feedback, rumbles with it from time to time, and then does the thing anyway.
Yep.
And I resonate with that because this is a lot of synergy. Yeah. So we got to about year 5, year 6, and I said, so Christine, what are you thinking? So I'm thinking, she's I'm not sure that we could take her much further. With where she was at, it was similar to where we were at. She had grown a really mature business. She was working less with her clients and face-to-face and more with the online stuff. And there was a lot of synergy in what we were doing. And so we had this really interesting conversation where I was like, what do you want to do? Have you thought about the next year? Do you want support? Do you want coaching? Christine said, I'm not sure. I said, well, Christine, you can have whatever you like, really. And you responded with, let me think about that.
Let me work out what it is I want.
And I went, okay.
Yeah.
Because I trust Christine, especially at that level, that she was going to ask for whatever she needed. Like that, I just knew that she would have the maturity of growth and her self-actualization, the work that she'd done to go, whatever she shares with me will be the right thing. So, I just kind of was like, yep, cool. And then?
Yeah, so we set up another time to have a further conversation. And in the interim, I had some very deep thinking going on, just looking at where my business was, what direction I wanted to go in, and what was my plan? What did I want to do? And so when we came back and had another conversation, I asked a big question, which was around, I would like a seat at the table. And you were like, I'm not sure what that means, but okay, let's work that out. Explain what that even means. And I was like, okay, maybe we should have another conversation. So then we had a conversation with James and Elicia. And James was like, well, why don't we just hire you as a contractor? And I was like, well, I'm not actually asking for a job. I'm asking to form something new together. And James was like, oh, right. And Alicia's like, oh, right. So then they had to go away and have a conversation. And I also said, I've also got some great ideas at ways you can expand what you're already doing. And they went, oh, tell us the ideas. I said, no, you guys go have conversations, see if this is what you want to do, and I'll hold on to my ideas for now. Which was interesting as well.
Always
great sales. Anyway, you guys had your conversations, and I had a conversation, and then we set up a conversation with a third party to actually mediate and work out what it is we wanted and how that would even look. And
started to nut out some of the kind of, not even nuts and bolts at this stage, but really just what does any of this mean?
What are the options? What could this look like?
Yeah, what is this?
And I don't even think the word convergence had been mentioned yet.
No.
And yet that was the sense of things. But it's like, well, how do you begin a process like that when you've got one business that's been around for 7 years at the time, another business that is incredible, run by a very mature person and hasn't been around quite that long, but we can see the brilliance and the excellence that you bring to everything you do. And it's like, there's so much synergy here, but So we spoke with a beautiful colleague of yours, Di Gray, who, look, she unpacked a bunch of stuff, but she what we remember that was really helpful was two characters called Frank and Fearless. Now, in my mind, I think of Felix the cat. We each have different interpretations of what Frank and Fearless look like. What do you guys think of Frank and Fearless?
You go, James.
I don't know.
You don't know?
For me, I think of the muscle, the bodybuilders that like try and get everyone to do this prank.
That's right, the extra guys.
Extra guys, you're the bodybuilders that, I want a massage, I'm a bodybuilder, can you do my glutes and hamstrings? Like, I think they're those guys. It's almost like a badge of honor in Australia when you receive that text as a body worker. You're like, I made it. I remember their names. I actually think that Jim and Fatma.
Yes,
I actually think of them as Frank and Fearless.
So basically, it's like Frank and Fearless is basically how do we have a conversation in raw, brutal honesty at times. And not being afraid to have the hard conversations. And there have been some hard conversations. Like, let's not gloss over those, although we may not dive into every single bit of those. There has been multiple times where it's like Frank and Fearless have had to come out where we can have conversations about how to move through this hurdle that we're experiencing.
And it's been really useful because what Di gave us was an opportunity to be able to say, hey, I think we need a Frank and Fearless. And it just kind of says to everyone, oh, right, that's where this is going to go, or let's make that happen. And then if it's not a Frank and Fearless, we're back to normal businessy stuff. It's all good. So I think if people listening are going to take away stuff, sometimes people are looking at business partnerships and things, that's an absolute gem of an idea. It's just make sure you've got a way of being able to say to your potential business partner, hey, we need to go deeper on this one. I've got some concerns, or I'm not sure how this is going to work, or there's some stuff we really need to talk about. And giving it a name or two names, Frank and Fearless, just means you can say, yeah, let's invite Frank and Fearless into this conversation and work it out.
It's a really powerful pre-friend. And she also gave us a business agreement?
Her advice was different business structures. So we explored different structures, ways that this could work. She went deep because we arrived in that meeting expecting like all
this is going to be so lovely, have fun. Yeah. And she just went super deep dive.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're business coaches and we've been in this coaching space for a while, so we can handle it. That was the other thing. I think she kind of calibrated us and went, no, we're not staying here. We're not. She goes, because we were like, it's going to be great. We've got the same values. She goes, no. People don't leave businesses because all of a sudden they have the wrong values. Like she kind of sneaked us out. It was like she kind of was like, no. This is not about that. This is about a shareholders agreement and having Frank and Fearless and being real about the realities of the decisions you guys are making. It was like,
it was a real reality.
It really was a reality check.
And it was so useful. So I would definitely say if people are thinking of going into business with one person, never mind two people who are actually married to each other.
Yep.
Yeah. Like that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
Definitely get a third party in.
To start with.
Yeah, definitely.
We then took some of her advice to our accountant and had a conversation with the accountant. We go, okay, what do we do? Like, how do we, in terms of the practical stuff, do we create and so we kind of created a way that we could move forward. And it was in a way of like a prenup. Like there was a way of being able to peel everything back if it didn't work. Like if we had a really great idea and we worked to reality and all kind of looked at each other and after 6 or 12 months we went, no. we could hopefully walk away as friends. So there was a little bit of some certainty built into it that meant we didn't have to be like, oh, well, what were we thinking? So I think that was really helpful. And then we spoke to Heather Young, who is a great executive coach, and she helped us with some behavioural profiling to understand what are our strengths and where do we have some gaps between the three of us. And I will say one of the biggest gaps that we noticed was that in terms of pacing, which is how do you take an idea and realistically work it out over time? we have a good idea and we want to implement it today, right? And what was really beautiful about that was to go, Christina is bringing with her an incredible team member who this is her jam. She's absolutely awesome at going, no, you don't have time for that. We're going to do this and this, and I can put it in this date, which is a massive skill set that none of us possess. And she knows that. She might be listening to the podcast at the moment because she's filming around us. And it's true. It's like that's a skill set that we don't have. So being able to have someone in our team and notice that and go, oh, so grateful for that, because otherwise we just, I don't know what we do. But that was really helpful. But also to know, okay, we have great ideas and how we implement them, where we can get stuck. You know, like if we're in our mechanic too much, where we're making procedures and systems, it then constrains our ability to be able to have amazing ideas. So I think for state management, that kind of stuff is really good, and awareness in which each of us brings.
I think it helps with the relationship too, when you can identify that, oh, someone else just behaves and thinks differently to what I do. It makes it a bit easier to have grace if things are not maybe done the way I would naturally expect them to be done. It's like, oh, it's just because we're all different people and we've got these different things. But without that foundational exercise, I don't know if I would have the same level of awareness around that, and it might just make working together harder.
Yeah, I think an appreciation of other people's skill sets and what they are incredible at doing, as though you have a higher respect really for one another.
Yeah. Which then, that then leads to a healthy respect for the team as well. And which I think is important, especially in a geographically diverse team. We then involve some lawyers, and we had to figure out, how do we pick a lawyer? Like, hey, it can't just be someone close. It's got to be somebody that is a great values match at the right level, and all that kind of stuff. So we had our shareholder agreement, which was yet another 6 months worth of, and what if this, and what if this, and what if this, and what if this, and what if this. So they make you think about things like, if one of us goes overseas and we can't be contacted for 4 to 6 weeks, at what point does someone else take over their position, and what authority does that person get?
Yeah,
and we're like,
so deep.
We just want to converge and make an incredible difference to the industry. Who cares?
What if someone dies? Does their partner take their shares, and just all this random
stuff? How does this work?
But it is important to think about.
And yet, exactly.
So it's good to have someone else guide us through that. It's probably the lesson to take away from this, because otherwise we would not have done it. It's just not important to any of us at all. But having someone say, this is important, here's what you need, ask these questions,
one of the joys of recording in a hotel apartment is you can't tell when they're going to be doing renovations, which is sound like they've started. So if you can hear things in the background, you're welcome. So then we had different phases.
Yeah, definitely. Originally, we started with cross-referral of databases, that type of thing. And then we actually created a company and had certain assets come together. And we did that for about a year, didn't we? Just to see what it would be like.
Yeah, and at that point, the brands were still separate. Yes. So from the observer's point of view, they wouldn't have even known, or not really, unless they were looking really close.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the stage where we could definitely separate if things didn't really go quite as well as we had hoped.
Yeah, but luckily,
it worked really well. Yay! And so we've been working on the rebrand and colours and the name and bringing everything together under the one company. So it's going to be called, it is now called, the Health Leader Co. And we came up with that name based on about 5 or 6 iterations of a few different things. And we actually asked our high-level clients who we've been working with for 2 to 3 years, which of these names resonate with you? And a number of them came back and said, what you guys do is help collaborate, and you help health leaders, not just massage therapists, but any of us, to rise up. And you create a collaborative space for us to learn and grow, but also you are collaborating. So it gave us this beautiful dual meaning, and we were like, Yeah, what she said. Let's do that. So shout out to Elicia specifically for her amazing feedback in pulling that together, and a bunch of the clients who also commented and shared that with us.
Yeah, so from my point of view as a brand, I think it's exciting because we get something new. We get new logos and new colours, all that kind of stuff. But essentially, right now, we're delivering the same programs. We're doing the same things with our clients, which means existing clients might see a different logo, but they're seeing the same people, the same processes. They're having the same experience that they've had there. So even that as a stage makes it a bit easier. It's like we're just focusing on actually building the systems around this new business. But the next stage is going to be even more exciting. Like the vision we've got for the future is actually introducing new programs, new services to be able to work with the industry and with even more people, which is where we're sort of heading. We're just laying the foundation, laying the groundwork right now.
And the last person that we've consulted also has been around as we brought the brand together is a beautiful woman named Erin, who helped us with our values. We know how important mission, vision, and values are in a business because it's how we, everything we do, the culture we create for our internal staff and also for our clients is all around your values. And we needed to be in alignment with them. So we actually asked somebody to come and facilitate that process for us, which was beautiful. And we were in Newcastle where Christine and her family are living, and we got a beautiful house that a co-working space, and it was just gorgeous, wasn't it? The whole process that facilitated, which is beautiful. So so that is our adventure for the last couple of years. We're excited that you'll be seeing a lot more of the brand and of Christine's voice coming through and our voice coming through. And it's just going to be amazing because it's not just business coaching, it's not just modalities. Now there is convergence of where the impact and the ability to be able to create incredible opportunities for therapists and practitioners to create a greater difference and create a greater impact is now available because we have 3, not just 2. And so we're excited for where things are going to go.
Absolutely.
You've been listening to the Health Leader podcast, hosted by James and Elicia Crook, together with Christine Knox, business coaches and modality mentors for massage and manual therapy. Elevate your hands-on skill and your practice to get incredible results at the Health Leader Co. Jump onto Facebook or Instagram and look for the Health Leader Co to connect. Also, please go to iTunes and rate us 5 stars so that even more people can access this podcast.